What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related. From Sunday, May 18th, we'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. Kicking things off with the bad news is outfielder Evan Carter was placed on the 10-day IL with a quad strain. He's had just a 59 WRC plus since being called up, so really not doing great, not living up to the potential that he displayed early in his career. So Evan Carter to the IL with a quad strain. In a corresponding move, outfielder Kevin Pillar was activated from the 10-day IL. He had been out with back inflammation. Pillar will be the fourth outfielder for the Rangers, and he's likely to see everyday playing time against Southpaws, but it looks like Sam Haggerty will be the one to see everyday playing time in center field with Evan Carter out. Next, we have shortstop Xavier Edwards, who was placed on the 10-day IL with a mid-back strain. It looks like Edwards is likely to be out longer than the minimum 10 days. Back strains are usually pretty difficult to determine the timeline for return. Looks like Javier Sanoja will shift from second base to shortstop to fill in for Edwards. He had been at second base filling in for Otto Lopez, who was activated from the 10-day IL in a corresponding move. Lopez had been dealing with a sprained ankle for the past couple of weeks, and he'll return to being the Marlins' everyday second baseman. Next, we have relief pitcher Kirby Yates, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a hamstring strain. Yates had been dealing with that hamstring strain yesterday, and Dave Roberts suggested that he was going to land on the IL, and we got confirmation of that on Sunday. It looks like Tanner Scott will have very little competition for saves for the Dodgers for the time being, for at least the next couple of weeks. Lou Trevino was selected from the minors in a corresponding move to replace Yates, and that's another example of somebody who used to play for the Giants, now playing for the Dodgers, and he did so this year. That's Lou Trevino. And our last injury involves outfielder Tyler O'Neill, who was placed on the 10-day IL with a shoulder impingement. This is already O'Neill's second IL stint. He really has struggled this year with a 188 average, 2 homers, 2 steals, and a 72 WRC plus. That's Tyler O'Neill. In a corresponding move, Dylan Carlson was recalled from the minors, but he's likely to be on the bench most of the time, with Heston Kjerstad and Ramon Laureano continuing to see most of the playing time in the corner outfield for the Orioles. In terms of transactions, starting pitcher Mick Abel was recalled from the minors to make his MLB debut, and boy, was he electric. Rarely do you see pitchers come up for the minors and have so much success in their MLB debuts, but Mick Abel dominated the Pirates, tossing 6 shutout innings, allowing 5 hits. He walked nobody while striking out 9, inducing 18 whiffs with 38% CSW across 84 pitches. That 38% CSW led baseball, earning Abel the King Cole. He showcased a 97 mile per hour heater with great extension and decent shape. We're talking 6.9 feet of extension on that 97 mile per hour heater. So it's really getting up on batters fast. And Abel was able to Abel was able to throw it in the zone often for 7 whiffs and 33% CSW. And he paired it with a lethal curve that induced 8 whiffs and 64% CSW. Incredible work on the curveball for Mick Abel, and he incorporated sinkers and sliders to right-handed batters with changeups to left-handed batters. And I think this deep arsenal with overpowering stuff is certainly intriguing, and I'd be suggesting to pick up Mick Abel everywhere. He gets the A's in Sacramento next, and I think that's a start after how much success he had in this one, accompanied by his very solid prospect pedigree. Next, we have another season debut. A starting pitcher Zebby Matthews was recalled from the minors to make his season debut in Milwaukee. It did not go too well. 3 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks for Zebby Matthews, 6 whiffs, 24% CSW, and across 71 pitches. He was around the zone with his heater and his cutter, but his slider was unable to get the chases it deserved. He spotted it perfectly off the low and away corner to right-handed batters, but he just did not get the chases that he needed to have success, and that's led to a lot of contact on his heater. And I really think there could be something interesting here with Zebby Matthews. The stuff is pretty interesting, and he had a lot of success at AAA, 1.93 ERA, 1.19 whip, and a 28% strikeout rate in 7 starts. And Matthews gets the Royals next in Minnesota and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that one. I don't know if I'm trusting him already in standard leagues, but it's certainly an interesting debut for Zebby Matthews. Next and lastly, we have second baseman Tommy Edman, who was activated from the 10-day IL. He had been out for a couple weeks with a sprained ankle, and he'll reclaim the everyday second base role for the Dodgers. He'll see occasional time in the outfield as well, probably mostly against left-handed pitchers to get Miguel Rojas's bat in the lineup and in the infield. But in a corresponding move, and maybe even more notably, Chris Taylor was released after spending 10 seasons with the Dodgers. Really struggled to start the year, 23 WRC plus. Chris Taylor is 34, so would be pretty surprising to see him catch on with another team, but really pretty incredible career for Chris Taylor playing for the Dodgers all these years. I still remember when they uncovered him from the Mariners and turned him into an all-star. So sort of, as a Giants fan, sort of sad and happy to see him go. In terms of news, relief pitcher Jose Alvarado was suspended 80 games for using performance-enhancing drugs. That really explains the increased velocity on the year for Alvarado. He'll be out until mid-August and will be ineligible to pitch in the postseason if the Phillies make it. It looks like Jordan Romano should see the bulk of save opportunities moving forward for the Phillies. Next, we have starting pitcher JT Ginn, who's expected to be activated from the 15-day IL today to start versus the Angels. He's been out for a couple weeks with elbow inflammation. Next, outfielder Mike Tauchman is expected to be activated from the 10-day IL today to return to being the everyday left fielder for the White Sox. Tauchman had been out with a hamstring strain. Next, we have starting pitcher Walker Buehler, who'd been out with shoulder inflammation, and he's expected to be activated from the 15-day IL to start tomorrow versus the Mets. And lastly, starting pitcher Spencer Strider is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL tomorrow as well to start in Washington against the Nationals. Strider had been out with a hamstring strain. I'll be glad to get Strider back on your fantasy teams. Now we'll take a look at some of the notable performances from Sunday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with Will Benson, who helped the Reds to win versus the Guardians, going 3 for 4 with 2 runs, a pair of home runs, and 3 runs batted in. He's up to 5 homers on the year now. The first one traveled 399 feet at 107 miles per hour, and the second one went 380 feet at 102 miles per hour. And Benson was tearing up AAA prior to his call up to the tune of a 289 average with 7 homers, 5 steals, and a 137 WRC plus, despite striking out 29% of the time. And he's been on fire since being recalled as well. But most notably, Benson has now homered 5 times in his last 4 games. We've seen Benson go on stretches like this before, so we'll really be looking for a noticeable change to his contact ability or his plate discipline, because despite combining for 25 homers and 35 steals across 236 games over the past 2 seasons, Benson's 36% strikeout rate during that time directly led to his subpar 227 average. His strikeout rate is down to 27% through 9 games this season, but it's a small sample and there aren't really big enough changes to his approach that suggests that this is going to stick, the reduced strikeout rate, that is. I'd say pick him up and ride Benson while he's hot right now. Of course, this home run everyday pace isn't going to stick, but if he's producing like this, you might as well ride it while he's hot, but get ready to jump the ship with Will Benson once the contact and strikeouts become an issue. Next, we have outfielder Dylan Cruz, who helped the Nationals to win in Baltimore, going 2 for 4 with a run, a home run, and 3 runs batted in. It was his 6th homer of the year, and it traveled 393 feet at 106 miles per hour. It's been a rough full season debut for Cruz, but he's doing his best to help fantasy managers with 6 homers and 11 steals so far. But checking under the hood suggests that Cruz deserves to be doing much better than he has been thus far. His 230 BABIP suggests his 191 average is unlucky, while his 13% barrel rate points to untapped power potential that was on display on Sunday. Cruz doesn't make exceptional amounts of contact, meaning he won't be a plus in the average department, at least for this year, especially if he continues to strike out 29% of the time. And his 41% hard hit rate suggests he lacks consistency at the plate. Usually we like to see that close to 50%, especially somebody who's barreling the ball as much as he does. So this suggests that he does hit the ball hard when he does hit the ball hard, but he doesn't do it as often as you like. The tools and skills are there, though, for Cruz to be a legit fantasy contributor for the remainder of the season. And honestly, I'd be buying low. I mean, you look at the numbers: 191 average, 588 OPS. I think people are getting concerned, but the numbers under the hood suggest that Dylan Cruz is going to be much better moving forward and is somebody who is more suited for fantasy baseball because of his focus on the power speed counting stats. Lastly, we have third baseman Miguel Vargas, who did all he could, but the White Sox lost to the Cubs. He went 2 for 3 with a run, a home run, and an RBI. It was his sixth homer of the year, and it traveled 375 feet at 102 miles per hour. Once a top prospect for the Dodgers, Vargas is getting the opportunity to be one of the stars of a rebuilding White Sox club. He's getting everyday reps at the hot corner and has made huge strides at the plate. After producing a 65 WRC plus through the first 3 years of his career, Vargas's selectiveness has improved this year, allowing him to parlay his above average contact ability into a career low 17% strikeout rate and a career high 245 batting average. Vargas is more of a 15-team play because he won't make a huge difference in any one category, especially playing for the White Sox, but his everyday role and ability to belt 20 homers with a decent batting average is worth the attention in deeper leagues. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Sunday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Michael Soroka, who helped the Nationals to win in Baltimore, going 5 2/3 innings, allowing 7 hits and 3 earned runs. He walked nobody while striking out 8, inducing 10 whiffs with 32% CSW across 82 pitches. Soroka has now struck out 8 in 2 of his first 3 starts since returning from the IL, and I'm here to determine if he's suddenly become a pitcher with a higher strikeout ceiling. In his return, we saw the Slurve take the wheel and dominate, and it dominated once again here with 4 whiffs and 36% CSW, while Soroka filled up the zone with 95-mile-per-hour heaters for 5 whiffs and 29% CSW. Each of those pitches got taken deep for solo shots. One Slurve got hung to Gunnar Henderson, and that one's never coming back. But the fastball that got taken out of the park was up in the zone. I think he definitely got beat on that one, but it wasn't a poor pitch. His changeup, Soroka's changeup and sinker were ancillary pitches in this one, while the latter, the sinker, was much more effective than the changeup, but it had less opportunity to impact the game because Soroka was facing a lefty-leaning lineup. Soroka is clearly a different pitcher than he was a few years ago. He's throwing a couple miles per hour harder, and that slurve is not a pitch he was displaying a lot. He was like a sinker guy before, looking for contact, and now he's somebody that I think can actually get consistent whiffs with a four-seamer with legitimate velocity and a slurve that has been getting consistent whiffs. So I think Soroka is somebody that we can look to stream against the Giants next. Next, we have David Peterson, who did all he could, but the Mets lost in New York against the Yankees. Peterson tossed 6 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 run while walking 4 and striking out 4. He induced 11 whiffs with 28% CSW across 101 pitches. Peterson has been rock solid all year. He's currently sporting a 2.86 ERA through 9 starts on the year, and he proved on Sunday that no opponent is too imposing, taking down the mighty Bronx Bombers. And this was the start of the Southpaw taking advantage of a patient lineup, as his sinker returned 11 called strikes for 39% CSW, which allowed Peterson's slider to dominate downstairs against lefties for 6 whiffs and 29% CSW, while his changeup, four-seamer, curve trio kept right-handed batters on their toes. And that's really the only gripe with Peterson. He destroys lefties and has tons of weapons for righties, but he doesn't have that dominant pitch for right-handed batters to really allow him to get all the whiffs that he wants. And that leads to a heavy reliance on balls in play, ultimately resulting in an inflated whip. We also see times where he doesn't have the best ability to consistently land his pitches in the zones, and you see a lot of walks. Usually it's a little bit lower, and you can't really blame him for walking 4 against the Yankees. Got to be a little tepid against these strong lineups, but Peterson has proven throughout the year that he is at least a Holly at this point. I don't think he's going to take that next step until he can bring that whip down. And now he gets the Dodgers next. If he survives there, I mean, Peterson's somebody that you're probably not going to drop all year long. Lastly, we have Merrill Kelly, who helped the Diamondbacks to win versus the Rockies, tossing 7 shutout innings, allowing 1 hit while walking 3 and striking out 11. He induced 17 whiffs with 33% CSW across 109 pitches. And Kelly allowed 9 runs in his second start of the season, and the fantasy community really started getting concerned, got all up in arms. I started seeing Kelly on the wire everywhere, but the veteran righty hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in his 9 other starts this year, producing a 1.99 ERA and a 24% strikeout rate, and he turned in one of his best starts on Sunday, taking advantage of Rocky Road. Kelly had an incredible feel for his changeup, keeping it low to the tune of 11 whiffs and 41% CSW, while he nibbled the edges with his four-seamer sinker and cutter fastball combo and stole strikes with his curveball. I don't know why we ever doubted Kelly. He's clearly a Holly, and he should be rostered everywhere with such a good team behind him, backing him up defensively and offensively. Kelly gets the Cardinals in St. Louis next, and that's a clear start. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Sunday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen to check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Ryan Walker recorded his 8th save with a perfect 9th, looking to get back on track after a rough start to the season. Shelby Miller recorded his 4th save with a scoreless 9th, looking to hold on to that role until Justin Martinez gets back. Josh Hader continues his incredible start to the season with his 11th save, following a perfect 9th. Jordan Romano, with Jose Alvarado now suspended, recorded his 5th save with a perfect 9th. Will Vest recorded his 5th save with a perfect 9th as well. Emilio Pagan up to 12 saves now with a scoreless 9th. Carlos Estevez also up to 13 saves now, scoreless 9th. And I say also because 12 is a dozen and 13 is a baker's dozen. So there we go. That's my mental math there to make that one make sense. And lastly, we've got Trevor McGill, who pitched a perfect 9th to record his 6th save. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Luke Jackson pitched a hitless 9th, down by 1. I think they're just trying to get him some action after he'd been out for a while dealing with an injury. And lastly, let's talk about the Marlins bullpen usage. It looked like Jesus Tinoco was becoming the clear-cut closer in Miami, but the usage on Sunday was confusing as Tinoco pitched a perfect 7th, Calvin Fauché pitched a perfect 8th, and Anthony Bender pitched a perfect 9th with the Marlins up by 4. So still unsure who the real closer in Miami is. But if you'd like more information on relievers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Monday, May 19th, a day in which we'll have just 12 games on the slate. My matchup of the day is Robbie Ray versus Chris Bubich. Robbie Ray and Chris Bubich have both looked incredible this year. I love seeing southpaws square off. There's something about somebody throwing with the arm that I don't throw with that makes me really intrigued. Obviously, as a Giants fan, I'm going to be watching this one, rooting for the Giants, but really been surprised and impressed by Chris Bubich's success this year as well. In terms of probable starters, we've got 5 guys in the auto starts tier, including Ray and Bubich. We've also got Christopher Sanchez in Colorado, Luis Castillo on the south side of Chicago, and Bailey Ober versus the Guardians. In our probably starts tier, we've got 5 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Ben Brown as he takes on the Marlins in Miami. Great ballpark to pitch in, great team to face. Ben Brown, not the best 2-pitch combo, but he made it work last time against the Marlins, and I think he can do it again here in Miami. I'd also keep an eye out for Jose Soriano as he takes on the A's in their home ballpark in Sacramento. Soriano is a solid Toby that when he has all of his stuff working can really dominate. I wouldn't expect that going into this one. We just need to see that sinker, slider, curveball, splitter combination all working in concert for Soriano to have some success against the A's. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd go for Rays hitters versus Colton Gordon in Steinbrenner Field. Gordon is making his 2nd start of his career. The first one didn't go too well, and the ballpark the Rays will be calling home and hitting in this game is certainly offensive friendly. So I'll target Rays hitters here. I'd also go for Phillies and Rockies hitters in Coors. Pretty self-explanatory. Best hitters ballpark in baseball. The pitching matchup is Christopher Sanchez versus Kyle Freeland. So I'll be targeting right-handed hitters on the Phillies and Rockies. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. First, we got Will Vest, who's pitched on back-to-back days. So we'll be looking to we'll be looking to Tommy Kahnle to get a save for the Tigers on Monday. Emilio Pagan has pitched in 3 days in a row, and so has Tony Santillan, and Taylor Rogers has pitched in 3 of the past 4. So maybe we see Graham Ashcraft get a save for the Reds on Monday. And lastly, Ryan Walker has pitched on back-to-back days, so Camilo Doval will be the Giants closer on Monday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast, and make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.